Let's go!
When releasing a game such as 2003's Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, which with its undeniable success and unique twist on the Mario universe made it an instant classic, a follow-up title becomes inevitable. With these very big shoes to be filled, developers Alpha Dream produced Mario & Luigi Partners in Time. Partners in Time was used as a vehicle to propel the series onto the newly released Nintendo DS and was met with similar lifetime sales as its predecessor. The two titles differ greatly in their settings, which for better or for worse has Partners in Time taking place in the Mushroom Kingdom instead of further expanding upon the world established in the Bean Kingdom. Partners in Time also adds the ability for players to take control of 4 characters instead of 2, with Baby Mario and Baby Luigi being included in the roster. In theory, the if it isn't broken don't fix it approach to returning to the Mushroom Kingdom and the increased diversity in gameplay assisted with the inclusion of 2 entirely new playable characters makes Partners in Time's creation sound like the perfect successor for Nintendo's new handheld. Unfortunately, these exact attributes are Partners in Time's biggest bane, as the game tends to suffer in multiple instances for these very same reasons. The capturing of Princess Peach as a plot device is no stranger to the Mario series, and Partners in Time takes this principle in stride, but with the added twist of time travel playing a key role in this development. The princess, having traveled back in time with the help of Professor Egad's new time machine, leaves her vulnerable to the attack on her castle happening in the time of yesteryear. The attack is being conducted by a race of creatures called Shroobs, which make their debut in this game and go on to make appearances in future Mario & Luigi entries. Peach becomes overwhelmed by these creatures and is taken captive by Princess Shroob, while the energy source for the time machine that brought Peach to this time in history, the Cobalt Star, is destroyed. Traveling back in time opens a number of time holes around the grounds of Peach's castle, which our heroes Mario and Luigi use to travel to various locations throughout the Mushroom Kingdom. The two then team up with their younger selves, who were at the castle in the past while it was being invaded but managed to escape. Through the course of the story, the pair of bros find pieces of the Cobalt Star, which they find out can be used to combat the Shroobs in their attempt to take over the past and eventually the present. Overall, the plot progresses at a steady pace and is inserted just often enough to not distract from the battle system and getting from point A to point B in the overworld. However, there are some outlying instances where story points are added in an attempt to fluff the story and tack on extra playtime to make the game feel more like a lengthy and worthwhile experience. The biggest offender of this is without a doubt the Yoshi's Island section, happening after players receive their second Cobalt Star Shard. Upon receiving this shard from the Vim Factory and one from Prince Bowser's castle, the shards are immediately stolen by Baby Bowser, stunting any progress made, requiring players to go to Yoshi's Island to get them back. While it is nice to see this rendition of the island make an appearance, its inclusion feels incredibly shallow and seems to be put in place solely to reinforce the idea that this game still takes place in the Mushroom Kingdom that players have come to know and love rather than add any real sustenance to the story. Traveling through the various sections of the Mushroom Kingdom in Partners in Time is nearly identical to its implementation in Superstar Saga. Both Mario and Luigi take to the field and move in unison when the D-pad is pressed, with Mario leading. Pressing A causes Mario to jump, and pressing B causes Luigi to jump. But the addition of the X and Y buttons on the DS allow the characters' younger selves to also move around on the field freely. Once both pairs of bros are playable, the big bros will carry around the baby bros on their backs, and when X or Y is pressed, the babies will be vaulted forward, free to move independently. Each pair has unique terrain that only they can traverse. The babies are given hammers and adopt a version of the Luigi jump called the Baby Drill, where instead of one bro going into the ground, both do. With these abilities being lost to the babies, the big bros still keep their spin jump, but are also equipped with the new Bros Ball, in which the two join at the hands and feet to move around at higher speeds. This move is also used to flatten the babies, allowing them to be carried with the wind in gusty areas. These moves are all welcome additions, but do not come without their own problems. Since there are points where controlling the pair separately is mandatory, switching between using the A and B buttons to control the big bros and the X and Y buttons to control the baby bros can be confusing at times. This problem mainly exists when going in and out of battle, as there may be points where the player switches from one pair of bros to the other, immediately goes into battle, and then accidentally uses the wrong set of buttons to dodge an enemy attack. Partners in Time being an RPG with increasable stats, equipable armor, and experience to earn, a very off-putting thought that may come into players' minds is grinding for experience. Thankfully with Partners in Time, grinding is never necessary. Enemies appear in the overworld and interacting with them initiates a battle to start. As long as not many of these battles are being deliberately avoided, the pair of bros will progressively get stronger at a pace scaled evenly with the enemies found in new areas. When taking battles as a whole into account, they work largely similar to the battle system set in Superstar Saga. Players can still expect the familiar action command turn-based battles and enemy phase evasion actions, but with the inclusion of the Baby Bros, these actions become slightly more complex. An example of this is with the jump attack, where if the player attacks with Mario, they must press X when they land on the enemy's head to attack as Baby Mario, and finally press A when they land again to attack as Mario. Another minor change made is to Bros attacks, in that they are no longer locked behind how many Bro points a given character has, but are rather taken on as individual items that can be found in the overworld and bought in shops. With the inclusion of the Baby Bros, an added layer of complexity is also added to Bros attacks. When all 4 characters enter a battle and a Bros attack is used, there's an option to increase damage output. An example of this is with the green shell, which when used, Baby Mario or Luigi hop on top, and if their designated button is pressed when the shell hits the enemy, more damage will be done. When a character is defeated in battle is where problems start to arise. When battling as all 4 Bros, if one of the big Bros' HP reaches 0, their designated Baby Bro will take them off screen and take their place in the fray, using their designated buttons to command them. The issue that this poses is that there's a number of enemy attacks that require the player to dodge as both Bros simultaneously using their thumb to press the A and B buttons. This feels natural as the buttons are right beside each other, but if, for example, Mario is carried out of the battle, the player must dodge as both Luigi and Baby Mario, requiring the thumb to be placed over at least 3 of the right-hand buttons, which at times feels very awkward. A strength found in the battle system is its progression in difficulty with enemies. When it comes to dodging enemy attacks, the enemy will always give a visual indicator of how and who they are going to attack. Early in the game, enemies make it blatantly obvious who they will be attacking, and it's up to the player to act upon the visual cue being given by the enemy. The explicitness of these early game attack patterns help to develop the habit of looking out for these visual cues, and as the game progresses, these cues get gradually more subtle. If the player becomes complacent in their observations and doesn't pick up on the cue, they will almost always be penalized for it, reinforcing the aforementioned habit. There is one exception to this principle in the form of snooze orbs. The visual cue for who these enemies will attack is which side of their head smoke rises from. However, a laser attack they harness has multiple variants, with no clear cue given to help differentiate them. This, mixed with a high attack power, makes fighting these enemies a chore, as it completely negates the habits the game has conditioned the player into developing. Music in Partners in Time is handled by Yoko Shimomura, who before this had conducted the soundtrack for Superstar Saga as well as Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. As a veteran of Mario RPG compositions, Shimomura does not disappoint when producing this game's soundtrack, knowing exactly what to do to evoke emotion through sound. Whether it be representing the playfully chaotic nature in scenes using Danger Theme, representing the snow-covered remains of Holly Jolly Village, or the uncomfortable industrial feel of the Vim Factory, songs are matched to a T with the areas they represent. When comparing visuals to that of Superstar Saga, the appearance of sprites and backgrounds are taken on in a considerably different way. Environmental art in Superstar Saga does not look bad by any stretch of the imagination, but the environments found in Partners in Time have a notable amount of added detail that gives a heightened sense of texture and depth. There are also clear visual differences between the sprites used for Mario and Luigi, which were not carried over to Bowser's Inside Story, the succeeding DS title, making these sprites completely unique to Partners in Time. These sprites change the perspective that the Bros are seen from and the posture they take. The gray anti-aliasing found on these sprites, however, do make the Bros stick out like a sore thumb in some environments, which visually is a double-edged sword, as the Bros will never be hard to find at a glance, but also feel disconnected from the world at times. As an overall experience, Partners in Time is a fun game and a very welcome addition to the Mario and Luigi series, and does a lot right with its aesthetic as a whole. But with the padding provided to the story and the gameplay being as new and exciting as it is at times clunky and frustrating, Partners in Time's biggest selling points end up becoming its biggest blockades from being a truly great entry in the Mario and Luigi series. For established fans of the series, picking up this game is a no-brainer, but for players looking to jump into the series for the first time, Superstar Saga or Bowser's Inside Story are much more worthwhile games to be introduced with. I know I was a little harsh on this game, but I'm glad I gave it a chance, and if you have the opportunity, I really recommend you do the same.